Greetings, Internet faithful. I'm some guy named Rob from On Your Marks Wrestling, and welcome to Rob Recaps 205 Live. We open up with a bit of a montage of the month-long Itami Tozawa versus Lucha House Party feud, which will result in a tornado tag team match later on tonight. We also cut to the broadcast booth, or the announcer table, depending on how you want to look at it, where Vic Joseph and Percy Watson send their congratulations to Nigel McGuinness, who had a baby girl, if I recall correctly. And then they get right down to business talking about the repercussions of what happened between Buddy Murphy and Cedric Alexander at the close of last week's 205 Live, saying that Drake Maverick will address what had happened. We cut to our first match of the night, Mustafa Ali versus Arya Daivari. Which was a decent little match. Mustafa Ali seems to be very committed to his Mortal Kombat gear with the LED mask, which does look cool. That hand laser is kind of lame and kind of annoying all at once, so I wish they would kind of drop that or turn that into something a little bit more interesting. But as far as the match goes itself, the match was pretty nice. I found it quite entertaining. One of the things I found amazing was that incredible spine buster that Daivari hit on Ali on the outside of the ring right in front of the announcer table. You don't see a lot of really good spine busters in wrestling anyway, but to see a really good one delivered right outside on the floor, just like that, as smooth as it was, I really like that. The old school wrestling fan in me really enjoyed that. The match is a lot of back and forth, with a lot of Daivari yelling at Ali, saying he blew his chance at WrestleMania and he doesn't deserve any type of rematch. Match ends basically as you would predict, with Ali hitting the 054, that reverse 450 splash for the win. And as Ali celebrates and makes his way to the back, you have Daivari sort of seething in the ring and "I will get you." He was just missing a little bit of a mustache twirl. It was a little comical to see. Moving right along, we cut to a promo package which sort of outlines what happened, or recaps what happened at the end of 205 Live last week. Thankfully, they edited out the major flub of Buddy Murphy hitting Murphy's Law on Cedric Alexander. And we cut to Drake Maverick talking about how, in spite of his actions, in spite of what Buddy Murphy has done, his in-ring performance has certainly earned him a title shot. Unfortunately, Buddy Murphy did not make weight. We cut to the weigh-in, where Buddy Murphy weighs in at over 207 pounds at the mandatory weigh-in, instead of meeting the 205-pound weight limit. And that means that the match that they were scheduled to have initially at Greatest Royal Rumble will now not be happening. And so Drake Maverick announces that he will be announcing a gauntlet match for next Tuesday, with the winner going on to face Cedric Alexander in Saudi Arabia at the Greatest Royal Rumble. I thought that this was a great thing. I like this for two reasons. One, really love the idea of a cruiserweight gauntlet match. I think this is going to be extremely entertaining. I don't even care if this match takes up the entire hour. In fact, I kind of hope it does. This is really great stuff. The second thing is that I like that they're using the weight limit in 205 Live as a storyline angle, because obviously it's a heel who's being denied a chance because of the weight limit. So you know that there's going to be absolutely no chance at all that Buddy Murphy is either going to play a part in the finish next week or in Saudi Arabia, because that would never ever happen, right? Back in the ring, we get the Brian Kendrick and Gentleman Jack Alger defeating a couple of guys. I don't know if they're just local jobbers or if they're just guys on the roster that I don't recognize. Granted, I'm not exactly a connoisseur of 205 Live. I'm still getting used to the whole thing. But it didn't seem to me like they were putting a whole lot of stock, as far as the announcer team, into putting these two guys over. So my guess is that there are a couple of local jobbers we may never see again. The match itself, nothing spectacular. This was really kind of a low point of the show for me. I wasn't really paying all that much attention. The team of Jack Alger and Brian Kendrick don't really seem to have a whole ton of chemistry, but then again, Kendrick's coming back from an injury, from what I understand. It all just seemed a little bit like we need to give a couple of guys that have some name value something to do. So they gave them something to do in the form of a jobber or semi-squash. So it's a match. It happened. Maybe these guys will warm on me over the next couple of weeks, but or maybe it is, I'll just see them in the gauntlet match next week, and I'm supposed to know who they are. But yeah, moving right along. We cut to backstage with a fairly generic promo with Dasha interviewing Mustafa Ali, saying that Ali had missed his opportunity at WrestleMania, but he's not going to waste it again. He's going to win the gauntlet match and move on to the match at the Greatest Royal Rumble. That leads into a promo, sort of a pre-taped promo from Drew Gulak, and I have to say, I'm really liking this guy. Not just as a heel, but just in general. I think that this is somebody... I have a feeling, and I mentioned this last time, I really think that this is a rib on Vince McMahon because of how Vince McMahon always wants wrestlers to wrestle the WWE style, regardless of whatever made them famous elsewhere. Drew Gulak coming out and saying that there's no room for aerial acrobatics in cruiserweight wrestling, I think is one of the most comically absurd lines I've ever heard, and the fact that he takes it deadly seriously is even funnier. Basically, the whole thing is he is kind of the anti-cruiserweight. His, aerial attacks are no match for his ground and pound offense, and his submission, him being a submission specialist. He's taking care of Mark Andrews. He's prepared to deal with his former partner Tony Nese. Takes a shot at Nese, saying, what makes you think that you have any right to climb the ladder because you have washboard abs? I don't know why. I just found that line really, really funny. But basically, the whole long and the short of it is that Gulick plans to basically win the gauntlet match, force everyone to tap out, and then go on to Greatest Royal Rumble for Cedric Alexander to tap out and become the new Cruiserweight champion. We cut back to the announce team, and Drake Maverick is also on commentary, and they're talking about the gauntlet match. They're trying to get Drake Maverick to release the names of people who will be in the match. Drake Maverick says that he will not give it up that easily. He wants things to be a bit of a surprise, but he may let some leaks out over social media during the week. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Follow them on social media, yada, 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 because they tweet everything into the dirt. So we get to the main event, Lucha House Party versus Itami and Tozawa. This was a car crash of a match, and it was highly entertaining. I'm going to say one thing. Okay, I'm going to say several things, but it all revolves around a theme. Now, I'm a big guy. I run 6'3", I run north of 350 pounds, so I am not light on my feet by any stretch of the imagination. So when I see guys performing these types of maneuvers, I'm impressed by it. When somebody does a running springboard moonsault, I'm impressed by it. When that springboard moonsault happens to be from the ring apron to the outside onto the floor, that's even more impressive to me. But when you get two guys doing dual springboard moonsaults to the outside onto the floor, where each of the targets is on either end of the broadcast desk, okay, I'll pop for something like that. I'll pop for something like that. That was really cool. That was probably one of the highlights of that match. The other one that stuck out in my mind was the giant doom spot where you have I'm going to try and get these names right, so bear with me here. So you've got Dorado sitting on the top turnbuckle. You have Itami and Tozawa each up on the middle turnbuckle, trying to set up a double superplex. You then get Metallic, who climbs up to the top rope, does a sunset flip over the whole gang of everybody to perform a double powerbomb on Itami and Tozawa while they superplex Dorado into the middle of the ring. It was like a giant Tower of Doom car crash spot, and it was performed really, really well. Now, I've seen variants of this before. It just, for some reason, this one looked a lot more impressive. I think it was just a little bit more fluid than some of the ones that I've seen on the main roster during, I know there was something very, very similar not too long ago on Monday Night Raw. But, yeah, it looked really, really good. I was very entertained by the match, entertained by the double finisher off the top rope by Lucha House Party to pick up the win. And good way to send off 205 Live for the week. Can't wait to see what the Cruiserweight Gauntlet match is going to look like next week. With any luck, they're going to make it a nice, long showstopper. Well, I mean, it's going to be a showstopper anyway. But hopefully, that's going to be one of those where they just let them have the majority, if not the entire runtime of 205 Live to execute, because I think it's going to be fantastic. Anyway, that's 205 Live for this week. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.